Good evening, curious minds of the internet. I'm Alexa, the resident ooky spooky girly that likes to lurk around here, and I'm glad you made it to tonight's video. I thought I'd keep you all on your toes today with a bit of true crime instead of my usual. You decide if it's, real kind of chit chat. Also, gotta flex the brain and give myself challenges every once in a while to keep it sharp and not rest on my laurels, but also end this on a happy note. Welcome to the top 5 missing persons who were found in 2023. In 5th place, we're kicking this off with a submerged Jeep. Seeing as we don't know the exact identity for the missing and found woman, this tale begins with a call from a fisherman who said that he saw what looked to be a black Jeep submerged in a large lake in Marion County, Texas. Not until much later, after a tow truck arrived, did anyone realize that someone was in the vehicle and that they were still alive. Captain Chuck Rogers, an investigator at the Marion County Sheriff's Office, has mentioned that he had no knowledge of just how long the Jeep was in the water before the phone call. And that's just one of several questions that remain unanswered about this whole thing. After that initial call on Friday morning, it took deputies around 18 minutes to reach the scene at Lake of the Pines, and it took a little longer for a truck from a nearby wrecker service to arrive. The Jeep was far away from shore, estimated at about 40 feet out in the water from Woody's Camp Boat Ramp. Okay, that's a fun name. The fisherman who called authorities stuck around, using his boat to help a tow truck worker get out to the Jeep and hook up a tow cable. We love a good Samaritan. When the team reached the Jeep, that was the moment they saw that there was a woman in the truck, turning the simple salvage of the vehicle into a full-on rescue operation. The fisherman and the tow truck driver helped get the woman out of the vehicle, pulling her into the fishing boat. Now, once the group reached land, deputies called an ambulance, and in the meantime, the woman was put in a car to, keep her warm before being taken to a nearby hospital. During the incident, it was determined that the woman was listed as a missing person from the Longview, Texas Police Department. She had been reported missing hours earlier, at 12:35 a.m., on Friday to be specific, to the police in Longview, a town some 24 miles south by southwest of the lake. Longview police said they couldn't share any more details about the woman or the circumstances that might have led to her predicament, which it's totally valid. If she wants to protect her privacy, she absolutely has the right to do so. As for how the Jeep came to be in the lake, the Sheriff's Department says it hasn't turned up anything suspicious about the incident. The boat ramp the vehicle apparently used to drive into the lake sits after a slight curve from a long and roughly straight rural road. The police claim that there was nothing uncovered during the investigation to suggest this case was anything more than an accident. And for the first time ever, I'm hoping that they're right and this was just a weird fluke. I'm just glad the woman's okay. In 4th place, time to travel to Glacier National Park. At approximately 11 p.m. on May 8th, 2 Bear Air rescue helicopters located 19-year-old Matthew Reed, who was initially reported missing on Sunday, May 7th, thanks to a thermal heat signature. He was said to have gone off hiking on the Huckleberry Mountain Trail around noon on Friday, May 5th. Poor guy spent 4 days lost in the wilderness. Rescue personnel lowered a rescuer down to Reed's location and found him somewhat responsive. Matthew was extricated via a 175-foot hoist, flown out of the park, and transferred to Evergreen Ambulance. Sidebar, since I'm always curious, I'd love to hear from Matthew at some point what they defined as somewhat responsive. Was he without a voice? Was he too tired to move his arms? Look, I'm a professional nosy person, okay? That specific area of Huckleberry Mountain, located off the Camas Road in Glacier's North Fork region, is heavily forested, thick with brush, and very steep. Oh, good. Matthew has been reported as being in stable condition. Whew. Reports indicate he hiked the Huckleberry Lookout Trail on Friday and reached the first saddle where he encountered a snowfield covering the trail, where he slept into an unnamed drainage on the east side of Huckleberry Mountain. He descended into chest-deep snow, losing his phone, water bottle, and shoes. Upon determining that he could not make it back up the trail, he started working his way down the drainage. So Matthew was originally last heard from on that Friday afternoon. His vehicle was located on Sunday at the Huckleberry Lookout trailhead after he was reported overdue to the Rangers. Rangers conducted a hasty search on Sunday afternoon before an expanded search began Monday morning. Glacier National Park would like to thank 2 Bear Air, U.S. Border Patrol, Flathead County Sheriff's Office, North Valley, and the Flathead Search and Rescue for assisting in the search, with around 30 folks having helped. Huckleberry Lookout Trail has now officially reopened to the public once again, but cripes folks, be careful and don't hike alone. I feel like that should be the first rule of hiking or something, but I'm not a hiker. In 3rd place, time to visit Australian bushland. So I'll be the first to admit that I know very little about Australia other than it's full of creatures that would kill me, very warm, and where my celebrity crush was born. Rikki Lee Mitchell, age 38, went missing from a rest stop at Reed River between Townsville and Chargers Towers on May 2nd. Detective Inspector Jason Shepard said she and her partner had stopped at the rest area on the afternoon of May 2nd for a swim. The partner then went to visit a friend nearby, leaving her behind for another swim and walk. When he returned, she could not be found. It's believed she walked off in the wrong direction to find her partner and got lost in her wanderings in the confusing terrain. Oof. Police and SES volunteers launched a land and air search of the area surrounding the Flinders Highway on the Friday, and homicide detectives were called in. She was found on Wednesday morning by a property owner, just a half an hour before a scheduled police press conference at the search site. Detective Shepard said he was elated the mother of four had survived, and was just completely ecstatic about the outcome. In a statement, he said that the longer the search went, the less optimistic he was, that he was concerned from the very start, but he's especially concerned after 7 days when people haven't been found, deeming finding Rikki a complete miracle. The poor woman spent more than a week lost in the challenging terrain. Detective Shepard said she survived by drinking water from puddles, and while she was obviously taken to hospital, she didn't appear to have suffered any serious injuries. Rikki's body was covered in scratches. Her feet in particular were cut open and gushing red from the roughness she endured. I've been informed it's common knowledge that if you're out in the bush in the heat with a little food and water, that you can become disoriented quite quickly, which makes sense to me. Am I forgetting anything? Oh, right, how she was found. My bad. Blame my exhaustion. Rikki said that over the 8 days of her disappearance, she just kept walking and walking and walking and walking. And that morning in particular, she got to a point where she was able to hear the traffic from the Flinders Highway. She commandeered an all-terrain buggy that she discovered on a property she stumbled on, and eventually found another man who was able to drive her to meet authorities at the search party's command post. About 20 volunteers and police officers had been involved in the search for Rikki each day. Townsville group leader Greg Maloney said crews had found footprints and signs of life in the bushland during their hunt, but were unable to find the missing woman until she, found herself. On many occasions they did find footprints and followed them down, but they didn't lead the rescuers to anything significant. Seeing as the area was a rest area, a lot of travelers moved through the region, making the evidence kind of murky and muddled. Thankfully, somehow, Rikki was able to rescue herself and has since been reunited with her family. In second place, we have someone who was almost burned alive. Lachelle Jordan had reported being stalked to Cleveland police at least 3 times before she went missing on Saturday, May 6th. Specifically on May 4th, she told the police that Michael Stennett was watching her from his vehicle when she left her Fairport Avenue home that morning. As a result, Michael was charged with 1 felony count of menacing by stalking and 1 felony count of violating a protection order while committing a felony. Lachelle was supposed to appear at a pretrial hearing on Monday, May 8th in connection with another criminal case involving Michael. So, to be specific, Michael was charged with 2 counts of forceful fornication and 1 count of abduction in May of 2022. Lachelle also reported being stalked by a female friend of Michael's back on April 26th. She said the woman showed up while she was responding to a call, and Lachelle then filed another police report on the same day. She said the woman was following her on the freeway as she was leaving work and tried to run her off the road until she pulled into the 3rd District Precinct. She said the woman's motive was that she doesn't testify in Michael's ongoing case. Mind your own business, lady. The morning of May 6th, shots were fired at a window in the home that she resided in with her sister. Just after midnight on May 12th, surveillance video footage from the open pantry convenience store located on Euclid Avenue showed her in a white shirt walking in. The store clerk described her as, looking very nervous, very tired, as if someone had fought with her. The first words out of Lachelle's mouth were that someone had tried to kill her before she asked the clerk for a cell phone, and he said she called 911 for help. The clerk said that her shirt was ripped open and looked as if it had been burned. Dispatch audio revealed that Lachelle told first responders that she ran away from her kidnappers who tried to burn her alive. Authorities told the dispatcher, "You're not going to believe this. We just got a call from Lachelle Jordan. She said that she ran away from the people that kidnapped her and they tried to burn her alive." Ay, ay, ay. She's not a witch.
Well, she turned me into a newt!
Her father, Joseph Jordan, told the press that Lachelle is talking with investigators about her case while under observation at a hospital. She is still expected to testify in that case I mentioned before involving Michael Stennett, who was arrested on charges of violating a protection order while committing a felony and menacing by stalking. Now, Lachelle has said that she is grateful for her Cleveland EMS colleagues and everyone else who searched for her, and that her family has visited her, including her 2 children. Thank goodness, but oh my gosh, police, help! I hope they've got her under protection. That's all I can say. In first place, we have Patricia Kopta. Imagine going missing for 30 years. Your entire family and friends assume the worst, and it turns out you've just been wandering casually around another country? While I love the animated version of Anastasia, the reality isn't exactly something I'd wish on anyone I know. Patricia Kopta, now 83, was last seen by her family in Pittsburgh in 1992, according to a missing persons flyer posted by the Pennsylvania Emergency Response Center. At the time, she was a well-known street preacher known as the Sparrow because of her slate build. Now, her husband Bob Kopta reported her missing in 1992, noting it wasn't uncommon for his wife to leave for short periods of time, but that time turned into more than just a missing weekend. He described the initial disappearance as one night, when he arrived home to find her missing, no one knew where she had gone, and zilch in terms of finding her. U.S. police eventually learned the story of what happened to Patricia after being contacted by an Interpol agent and a social worker from Puerto Rico who cared for her. Patricia entered their care in 1999 when she was found in need in the streets of, Puerto Rico. Through the years that Patricia remained at the care home, she refused to share details about her private life and where she came from. But as her age and dementia progressed, she began to share rare snippets about her past. Just a tidbit here and there. By last year, a social worker at the home had enough information to alert authorities back in the States about the now 83-year-old woman. A DNA test has confirmed her identity. Before her disappearance, Patricia was at a facility in Pennsylvania briefly after doctors diagnosed her with delusions of grandeur and said she had signs of schizophrenia. She was released and kept preaching until she disappeared, with her family now believing she feared being further institutionalized and, decided to flee the country instead. No biggie, right? We've all thought about running away. Now, before Patricia was married, she would vacation often in Puerto Rico with her friends, and according to her sister Gloria, who described her as loving the ocean, the beach, and the sunshine. Years went by, no sign of her. Now Bob, who had been married to Patricia for 20 years, obtained a death declaration about 7 years after her disappearance. The poor man spent so many years on edge, wondering if Patricia was every unidentified body found reported. Meanwhile, Patricia was apparently wandering the island's north towns of Naranjito, Corozo, and Toa Alta, located just southwest of the capital of San Juan. When she was first taken in at the adult home, she had hinted that she had arrived in Puerto Rico via a cruise ship from Europe. After a social worker contacted the police in Pennsylvania, it took almost a year for DNA samples to confirm that the woman was, indeed, Patricia. So Bob, who did not remarry, said he doesn't plan to visit, and that he's now trying to forget the past, though he's glad to know she's being taken care of. I don't blame the guy, that's a lot to go through. And that brings us to the end of today's list, a semi-sweet ending. Well, I'm going to be following Lachelle Jordan's future in the news. I'm very glad all the folks I talked about today have been recovered, and safely at that. Let me know in the comments if I forgot about a specific case from this year, just in case. And until next time, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos.